I'm Kim Eaton,
I'm Sue Eaton.
and this is my story. It started on July 2nd last year, 2016. We were at a family reunion out in Perry, and there was 140 of us who we all signed in, and it was at a YMCA camp. And we had a good time. Toward the end of the day, we started leaving, and I was walking to the car with Sue, and one of her cousins stopped her, wanted to talk with her. So I kept going. I said, I'll meet you at the car. And I got two cars from ours, and all of a sudden I got a bright white light coming from the bottom of my eyes, coming up slowly. And it was so bright it was painful. And I turned to my right to grab a car that was about 2 feet away from me. And I bent over to grab it, and that's the last I remember. My heart stopped.
Yeah. By the time I got to him and I looked down, he was already turning blue, and his eyes were fixed. I knew he was gone. And my daughter-in-law got there at the same time, and she's the one that started the CPR. And I just kind of kneeled down and prayed and just put everything in God's hands, because that's all I could do at that point.
When I was laying there, when they were working on me in the parking lot, one of Sue's cousins, who's a minister, asked everybody to form a circle, and they prayed. And the prayers went very good, and then they broke off into little groups and called their own individual churches and talked to them, and they started praying. They made their phone calls and everything, and we found out later while I was in the hospital that there were prayers for me coming from 7 states and 3 countries.
He did not regain consciousness at all the whole time. And we got to Madison, and the doctors were working on him, and I could hear them through the door, and the paramedic told us that he was talking to the doctor, explaining what he had done when they heard Kim start to moan, and he had come to. And so they asked him questions. They asked him who he was and if he knew where he was, and then they let me in right away to see him. So I went over, and the first thing he said to me was, "I love you," which is a normal thing for a husband to tell a wife. But then he said, "I have to be better." And so I looked at him and I thought, that's kind of strange. Well, maybe the doctor told him that. So I said, "Better how? Better health-wise?" And he said, "No, better to people." And I said, "You mean more Christ-like?" And he said, "Yes." He had to have open heart surgery, and the day after he had the surgery, he developed pneumonia and was on the ventilator for 7 days instead of just the usual couple of hours or 1 day. So I was sitting there reading the Bible to him one day, and the social worker came by, and she saw me and she said, "You look like you need a hug." And she came in and she prayed with me. And it seemed like when I was at my lowest points, God always sent someone to come and pray with me, whether it be someone from the church or someone from the hospital. The nurses came and prayed with me at times, and I never felt alone.
And this was truly a miracle. I'm the recipient of a miracle from God. The doctors, all the doctors and nurses told me that if what happened to me in that parking lot had happened to someone already in the hospital, their chance of survival is 10%. They said I should not have survived this.
Yeah, even in the emergency wing, when they took him to ICU the day it happened, as they were wheeling him down the hall, the nurses were looking around, and they asked the orderly, "Where's the resuscitation victim?" And he said, "Right here." And Kim was sitting up and laughing and joking, and their mouths dropped open, and we said, later we asked them, "Why were you so shocked to see us?" And they said, "Well, normally a resuscitation victim comes in on a respirator, unconscious, and they've lowered their body temperature so they don't have brain damage, and God spared him all of that, and spared me all of that too."
It's the power of prayer that pulled me through, and God pulled me through, and He wanted to give me that message, and it was a real wake-up call. I mean, since I was 13, I've really believed in Jesus and God, but this is totally different. I mean, it's just exponentially increased. It's been a year now, and I'm doing very well. I'm probably in the best shape I've been in decades, and I do what they told me to do. I go to the gym 5 days a week and I take care of myself now, and I watch what I eat, and Sue watches what I eat too, of course. But, but
And he-
without her either, I wouldn't be able to survive this.
And he prays now for people when we see cars, accidents, or ambulances go by. He prays for people. He never did that before.
If I see something, I do pray. I pray a lot more, and I pray a lot deeper than I used to pray. I'm more concerned for other people and their feelings and things, and I'm not so quick to anger. I think about things now pretty much before I say something or do something. Before it was just like a knee-jerk reaction all the time, and that's what's different.
God has healed his heart outside and in.